In this podcast episode, Jett Franzen joins the host to explore the complexities behind why so few people achieve the lives they truly desire. The conversation spans a range of topics, including agency, self-belief, coping mechanisms, authenticity, success, mental models, and societal attitudes toward ambition and identity. Jett's personal journey as a content creator underpins many insights about perseverance, identity formation, and the challenges of navigating success in the digital age. Jett and the host dig into the importance of agency, the ability to actively shape one's experiences, and contrast it against victim mentality. Agency is portrayed as the conscious choice of happening to life rather than letting life happen to you. This sovereignty comes with balancing effort and release, knowing when to push hard and when to surrender control. The discussion emphasizes that while fate or serendipity sometimes play a role, true progress comes from aligning action with internal rhythm, cultivating a dance with life that's neither too rigid nor too passive. Jett reflects on his experience with a silent meditation retreat and how people often misuse meditation techniques to suppress difficult emotions instead of fully embodying and moving through them, what he terms conductivity. This metaphor extends to life, where positive habits can become subconscious coping mechanisms or masks that avoid confronting deeper emotional realities. Drawing from Carl Jung's concept of the shadow self, the conversation highlights how unacknowledged shadows, whether bad habits or denied evils, can drive behavior from subconscious places, undermining true self-mastery. A major theme is the evolution of self-belief and how it rarely arises spontaneously. Jett illustrates that self-belief is built gradually through consistent effort and accumulating evidence of competence. This creates an identity aligned with success. Early failures and struggles, like creating thousands of videos with minimal audience response, are stepping stones to breaking through. The guest stresses that impatience and the desire to speedrun growth are common barriers, as readiness for massive opportunities often lags behind initial enthusiasm. Authentic self-belief develops through repetition, resilience, and embracing incremental progress. The episode discusses a common human trap, treating goals as contracts for perpetual dissatisfaction. Desire serves as a motivating force, but also a contract to self-criticize until the goal is reached, leading to endless chasing without fulfillment. The arrival fallacy, the mistaken belief that achieving a goal will bring lasting happiness, is explored through examples of athletes and creators who find the journey more meaningful than the destination. The listeners are reminded that most of life will be spent pursuing goals, so finding meaning and joy in the process itself is vital. Jett and the host talk about how success can paradoxically become a burden. Each new achievement raises the minimum standard, creating a baseline that makes previous victories feel ordinary or insufficient. This curse of competence leads to increasing pressure, where maintaining or exceeding success becomes essential, often at the expense of personal satisfaction. They note that being in the top 10 or even achieving phenomenal milestones can come with intense mental stress, as expectations, both internal and external, rise relentlessly. Authenticity is dissected as a powerful but misunderstood concept. While audiences crave authenticity, there is an ironic intolerance for full sincerity and deep vulnerability on the internet. Jett challenges the performative nature of humility and virtue, suggesting that sometimes people cloak resentment or failure behind moral posturing. Drawing from Nietzsche's idea of resentful morality, they argue that some use internal virtue as a substitute for external success, which can become a subconscious excuse for stagnation. The episode urges listeners to transcend such coping strategies through honest introspection and embracing healthy narcissism. The guest elaborates on the idea that everyone is to some degree narcissistic, but it exists along a spectrum from healthy self-belief to destructive overconfidence. Leaning into a balanced form of narcissism can be a powerful propeller for growth and ambition. Jett embraces the notion that betting on oneself is a pragmatic strategy and essential for success. This contrasts with societal biases that often punish confidence and reward humility, particularly in certain cultural contexts. The ability to manage one's ego, staying ruable or approachable while maintaining strong self-belief, is identified as a key social skill. They examine how people from similar backgrounds often compare themselves unfairly, fixating on others' success as proof they should be succeeding too. This breeds resentment, especially within communities that feel stuck, such as incels or other marginalized groups. Jett recounts personal experience with online backlash, accusing him of faking success or lying about his background simply because he outpaced peers. The discussion highlights how others act jealousy or disbelief can become a social barrier, and why authentic growth often generates both admiration and envy. While recognizing the value of support networks, Jett maintains that relentless personal consistency and self-reliance ultimately determine progress. He shares his own journey of grinding in isolation, sleeping on couches, working multiple jobs, creating thousands of videos daily without immediate rewards. Support systems can accelerate development, but the emotional core that fuels discipline must come from within. The episode challenges the common 99% talent, 1% luck narrative, emphasizing that even with some talent, success demands unforgiving action and agency. The conversation touches on how social media distorts perception by exposing users to only the top 1% of success stories. This magnifies feelings of inadequacy and hopelessness, especially for young people who compare themselves to influencers' curated highlights. The constant exposure to idealized lives fuels victim mentality and inhibits the patient accumulation of skill and identity. Both guests point out that genuine success is deceptively slow and grueling, and the viral moments of stars mask years of invisible labor. By drawing analogies from athletes like Erling Haaland and Elisa Liu, the episode explores the tension between rigorous preparation and effortless flow. Peak performance requires discipline, sacrifice, and monastic focus behind the scenes, which eventually enables graceful ease and authenticity in action. The concept of effortless action, or woo-woo, where practice is internalized to the point that the mind can relax, doesn't mean absence of effort, but a transformation of effort. The key is not to choke by over-gripping, as that destroys flow and creativity. Exploring the cultural hunger for authenticity, the guests acknowledge the difficulty of achieving true authenticity online. The internet demands both authenticity and entertaining performance, yet often rejects deep sincerity that reveals vulnerability or emotional complexity. Social norms on platforms frequently punish emotional openness that seems uncontrolled or too earnest. Instead, creators are incentivized to curate an authentic-seeming persona that remains palatable and engaging. This paradox challenges anyone seeking genuine connection in the digital realm. The episode touches on philosophical frameworks distinguishing instrumental goods, things done to achieve something else, from ultimate goods, end-in-themselves values like peace, love, or contentment. Most people live predominantly instrumental lives, chasing goals as means to other goals, leading to a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction. Jett and the host propose exploring what ultimate goods are truly desired beneath the layers of ambition and external achievement, encouraging a more direct pursuit of inner peace or happiness as the foundation for a fulfilling life. Navigating success brings not only opportunity, but distraction, social pressure, and temptation. Jett warns about the pitfalls of letting fame or increased leverage dilute focus on the core practices that foster creativity and growth. The red dress metaphor from The Matrix is used to illustrate how rising influence means continuously saying no to tempting distractions that could pull one off course. The more successful a person becomes, the greater the burden of selective focus to maintain and evolve their unique voice. The conversation explores how success reshapes social dynamics. Old heroes can become rivals, friendships can grow complicated by competition and envy. With growing visibility, individuals often attract adversaries fueled by projection or inadequacy. A recurring theme is that envy often stems from deeper insecurities and unresolved identity conflicts. Embracing authenticity, continuous learning, and self-acceptance are shown as the best defenses against these social challenges. Jett's story highlights how a steadfast determination to persevere in creating content, even when faced with skepticism, online hate, and slow growth, is fundamental. The fake it till you make it notion is nuanced into a make it till you believe it approach, where repeated action creates irrefutable proof of ability, banishing doubt. This idea underscores the need for patience, grit, and an acceptance of slow progress as conditions for eventual success. The host and guest note that frequent complaining reveals a poor predictive model of reality and misplaced expectations. Suffering often arises from the gap between expectations and reality. Learning to accept reality as it is, with lower expectations or greater flexibility, reduces suffering and enhances contentment. The episode cites the Buddhist idea of dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, as a fundamental human condition stemming from resistance to reality rather than reality itself. They discuss the social implications of navigating ego and humility. Ego is often antisocial and confronting, causing others to feel inferior, while humility fosters group cohesion and social acceptance. Cultural context influences how these traits are perceived, with British society, for example, favoring modesty and penalizing overt confidence. Yet a calculated balance, being ruable while maintaining firm self-belief, is important for sustained social and professional success. Finally, Jett emphasizes the necessity of guarding time for reading, research, and idea incubation to avoid becoming stale or disconnected from what initially fueled creativity and differentiation. As external demands grow, sustaining this intellectual nourishment becomes both more challenging and more critical. The conversation warns that losing sight of the foundational habits that built one's early momentum risks undermining long-term growth and authenticity.